How does Asia and the consumption of journalism in this part of the world factor into hitting that target mark? And we know that, the battle against fake news, a politically charged environment, is just as heated in this part of the world, given that we've had, an election year for a number of key countries like Thailand and Indonesia and India coming up.
Yeah, so Asia's really important to the New York Times for a number of reasons. It's a really important part of the world for covering news. It's potentially a great target market. We've already got subscribers all over Asia. We believe we can get many, many more and many more readers as well. And thirdly, Hong Kong in particular is part of our global operation. London and Hong Kong keep the news going, just like with Bloomberg. We're on all the time, and when New York's asleep, either London or Hong Kong is editing the news and is in control of the entire digital news report.
Some of the markets within Asia, I'm thinking the likes of Indonesia, for example, in the Philippines, you see some of the highest take-up of tech consumption and app consumption, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat in the world. How does that kind of, determine your strategy in some of these emerging markets?
I mean, our thesis, both here but around the world, is that there's a great use for social media and indeed for Google search and other platforms to distribute our journalism and to make it discoverable by consumers. This is particularly important in countries where, in a sense, there isn't a long heritage of use of the Times. So it's great for building an audience. But, I mean, we're very clear about our thesis, which is, in the end, we want people to come to our assets, our apps, our mobile web, and have not a kind of bitty experience of our journalism when it's jumbled up with everyone else's, but in the end, we'd like to habituate them to coming to the Times and really getting much of what they want in terms of the news directly from us, and knowing exactly where it's coming from, what its provenance is, and also, we'd say also with the guarantee that it's all made to a high standard and can be relied upon.
Mark, one country, China, how do you deal with that, especially with censorship?
Well, you must remember that around the world there are many, many countries where we deal with censorship. And I think globally, I think that censorship and the harassment of journalists is a growing issue. Unfortunately, the risk to journalists and the difficulty of citizens getting accurate, impartial news is growing in many, many countries. We want to cover China properly and richly. We want to cover, of course, issues of politics and human rights, but we also want to cover the amazing tech revolution that's happening in China, Chinese culture and life in China for its people. And we're patient. I mean, the Chinese authorities are famously patient, but so are we. We believe that China's going to be an amazing story for decades to come, and we're in it for the long haul. Where our services are significantly blocked in China at the moment.
Yes.
But we're continuing to cover China as well as we can. I think we're doing some great work covering that country, and we also want to continue to seek to make our journalism free to use in China. I mean, we believe in the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights and its guarantees about press freedom, regardless of frontiers, is what it says in Article 19. The Chinese government, the Chinese have signed up to the Universal Declaration, and we hope that sooner or later that declaration is going to be honoured.
Sure. Mark, 1.3 billion people and counting, of course, for China. Are you saying to us that you're happy and you're willing to take this, I guess many would say, high ground, moral high ground, and block off subscription growth in that country? And what would it take between China and the New York Times to gain access?
I want to be very clear, and some American companies have been prepared to compromise their values to gain greater access to China. We won't do that in any market in the world. We believe in freedom of press. We believe in journalism delivered to the world without fear or favour, independent of government, not hostile, but objective about what's going on in every country. That's what we apply in the United States. Famously, we have an administration in Washington which doesn't like the New York Times at all, but we continue to do what we do in the United States. We want to do it everywhere, including China. So we will never compromise those principles just to gain a few subscribers.
Well, arguably, some of the attacks from the president has probably, done the New York Times, the Times more good than bad, right? And I'm wondering to that end, after 2020, if the political environment changes, if the administration changes, do you see that growth as being sustainable? Does it change your strategy at all?
So my view is that we should regard Mr. Trump's election and the current political climate in the US as really a symptom of profound disruptions in our world. The shifting balance of economic and geopolitical power from west to east, globalization, automation, mass migration of human people, climate change. There's a whole list of ways, inequality in which our countries are in this profound period of disruption and change. That's going to continue. I don't see whoever wins in 2020, I don't see any likelihood that the overall news cycle is going to reduce. Last month, in March, we had two enormous stories: the terrible shooting in Christchurch, New Zealand, and the crash of the Boeing 737 in Ethiopia. Neither had anything to do with Donald Trump.